Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Lab, Sports Lab. Welcome to episode 267, inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, the show covering the sporting HBCU dash of all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture and HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. We're filming from our home studios here in the beautiful home, Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. How's it going, Charles?
Doing well, Doc, doing well. We got so much stuff going on. We had track and field this weekend. We had baseball. We got basketball, a lot of stuff to get into.
Yeah, I saw you at the baseball, man. Your team did 2-1 in the tournament. Not too bad there. Mike,
yeah,
how
not
you
too
doing?
bad at all.
Not too bad, Doc. Same business on the road. In addition to what CB said, we hearing about players trying out for football leagues and all that good stuff. So just to add on to all the stuff that CB put on the table, we'll add a little bit of news from that corner of the world.
Sounds good. Sounds good. With that being said, shout out for those that have joined us. Lennon is already mad talking about his Norfolk State Spartans. They think they're going to get a break with Howard losing, and then the second half against Cobb State, he said they just looked like they were going into the toilet. They look good. It's one of those weekends. It happens. We'll get into the poll rankings a little bit before we get into that for the women first and then men. Charles, what's on your mind? What's on the news of the day?
Well, we already got the CIAA women's tournament has started. We already got some scores coming in from it. So Johnson C. Smith, they knocked off Virginia Union earlier today. And Elizabeth City, they knocked off St. Aug 59-55. So you got some scores coming in already. So already we're moving to the quarterfinals for a couple of games for a couple of teams. In the CIAA Women's Championship. So Fayetteville State will now take on number 8 seed Johnson C. Smith on tomorrow. And then Elizabeth City State University, they will take on Bowie State. And that is a 2 p.m. tip-off tomorrow. So we already got some tournament play going on in CIAA.
CIAA is in full effect. Baltimore, Maryland, that is. Mike, what's on your mind?
Well, CB threw me for a loop, but I wanted to share a little, football note. So talk about turn on the Jets. So I caught this. It was at the Tallahassee Democrat. So football, great. So FAMU football wide receiver Xavier Smith participated in the HBCU Combine, and will play in the HBCU Legacy Bowl on the 25th. However, he wowed everybody when the 5'10", 170-pound guy ran a 4.348 40, which is right now one of the fastest clock times. This according to ESPN, several ESPN reporters. So he came there with a mission, came there not to play. He's shown what he can do. So kudos to him for showing up. So 5'10", 170 pounds, ran a 4.38, 4.39 seconds, according to ESPN NFL Nation reporter Teron Davenport. Kind of reminds me back when I played and I ran my 4.3840. I'm just saying. So I hadn't seen the time like that. So kudos to him for real.
I know you understand. I would say this about Smith. Now we have a understanding of why he caught so many balls. We thought it was just he had good hands and was running obviously good routes. But he was quick as a jitterbug and people just didn't catch up with him. So it makes a great deal of sense understanding what was taking place there. Before we go to this first break, we get in there. We have now can officially say all the coaches have been hired. I thought Kentucky State made a move, but Kentucky State has selected Felton Huggins as the next head football coach at Kentucky State. Kentucky State announced February 20th that the search committee selected Felton Huggins as the university's next football coach. Huggins comes to Kentucky State after spending the past year as assistant coach with wide receivers at the NCAA Division I FCS McNeese State. Several quality candidates were interested in becoming the next football coach at KSU. Still none of them had the depth of experience, energy, knowledge, and ability to connect with our student athletes, like Huggins said. Kentucky State's athletic director, Raymond Johnson, quote, "I'm confident that his knowledge of our conference and the current football landscape will make our program highly competitive while helping our student athletes lead with high character." So that's in word for football. As you get into spring training, you get the last coach hired. So it's right around the corner. So it'll be interesting to see how quick can he get up to date. Obviously, signing day is passed, but for a lot of programs, NAIA Division II, you don't necessarily sign as many players on the signing day as you see at the FCS level. So be interesting in how he's able to get things done. Shouldn't hurt him as much as it might in some cases. With that being said, let's take our first break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll get in our major division women's top 5 rankings, see what changed out there. A couple of teams lost at the top, several losses this weekend. So it should be interesting to see how it all shakes out this week, the season in the top 5. Stick around with us. We have an interview coming up, big time program, getting things done, a little off the beaten path. So stick with us. You should be surprised and energized by this interview. We'll be right back after this first break.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember they can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft.
Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go, why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
T. Madden and Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden and Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients.
Call T. Madden and Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Let's get into the major division top 5 programs this week. We did have a team dropping out this week, as we have several still receiving votes. Dropping out this week is Howard Bison. They fell to 500 on the year, 12-12, 8-3 after this weekend, as they had a conference loss. But they do receive votes right behind Alabama State Hornets that are 14-12, that have pushed to a winning record after what they did this past weekend, 11-4 in the conference with 34 points. Behind them are Howard Bison at 12-12, 8-3, and 30 points, still receiving votes, if you would. Prairie A&M Panthers come in at 13-3, 10-5, as they have been solid over the weekend and getting some big victories. They sit at 24 points. So let's get into top 5. We do have a new incomer into the ranks at number 5. There's Alabama A&M Bulldogs sit at 13-12, 8-3 in terms of the conference race. They jump in, not ranked last week, but they come in at 46 points, a new top 5 entrant of the year, playing solid basketball all year long. Only 3 losses. They continue to get it done, sitting at the top behind the juggernaut that is Jackson State. But we'll see what Jackson State falls this week. At number 4, you have Morgan State Bears sitting at 16-8, 9-2. They were previous number 1. They had a tough week. They were undefeated, if you remember, going into this weekend. And not only did they have a loss, but they had 2 of them. Saturday and Monday was not kind to them, as they take on 2 losses a week that drops them from the number 1 spot all the way 4 spots to number 4. At number 3, North Carolina A&T State Aggies 16-9, 10-4 on the season, 1 first place vote. They moved up the poll to number 3. They did bounce back and got into the winning records and winning ways, if you would, in terms of what they did last week. So they've been pretty solid at number 4 with 64 points. Bringing us to number 2, Norfolk State Spartans, 21-5. They get to the 21-win mark, 9-2. They do continue to push along, 3 first place votes, 75 points, as they continue to get a lot done in the MEAC as they move around in terms of what they get done on that list. They've won 4 straight games, bringing them up a spot. At number 1, Jackson State Tigers. The ladies over there at Jackson State are rolling now. They sit 16-8, 13-1, as they continue to roll. And they get into the number 1 spot, move up from number 2, first place vote, 76 points, as they are rolling, as I said, winning 10 straight games in conference play. Jackson State Tigers ascend to the number 1 spot in the ranking in number 7. Very solid in terms of what goes on here. I'm going to save your comments because I want to get a little more full thoughts after we come back from this break. We'll bring in our interview, and then we'll come back, get your thoughts in the second half of the show, if you would. Go over the men's rankings and things of that nature. But to the point, I see, Charles, you can smile a little bit. Jackson State Tigers is finally ascended to the top of the poll, where many people think they should be. 16-8, 13-1, 4 place votes. With that being said, with that, let's take our next break. We'll come back, as I said, get into hopefully an interview we'd like to have for you on the other side. Stickers will be right back after this second break.
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
The new GMC Sierra with hands-free driving offers the most advanced and luxurious pickup in its class. Yeah, it rocks.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Hey, text me if he comes on so we'll be able to go to break.
We're back.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Charles, I'm going to go to you first since Jackson State happens to be at the top of the polls this week. But overall, what are your thoughts in terms of the top 5 poll ranking?
Overall, first and foremost, kudos to Alabama A&M for getting in there at number 5. You talk about when you talk about a player of the caliber of Darnell Lewis transferring our way, for them to claw themselves back into the picture in terms of SWAC Elite, that speaks a lot about their program. 11-4 in conference play, so they're playing great ball. The surprise this week, of course, was Morgan State dropping 2. Didn't expect to see that happen. But they will be fighting and trying to get back into the mix, if you will. But Jackson State, they're just playing tremendous basketball right now, and it's week in, week out. They're getting it done inside the paint, rebounding you to death. But Jeriah Covington, she's the SWAC Impact Player of the Week this past week. He's getting it done from the point guard position. They have gotten steady play from Jeriah all season, and it's led them on this 10-game this 10-game win streak, if you will.
Yeah, with that being said, I think you said it perfectly, starting off with Morgan State being the surprise. They do not fall out of first place. They still remain in first place, but now they're tied with Norfolk State. Norfolk State has won 4 games straight. You talk about Alabama A&M jumping in the poll. They've won 2 straight, but Alabama State right there with them. That's won 5 straight in terms of the race there. But Morgan State had a tough weekend when you just look at what they were not quite able to get done in terms of that loss they had on Monday, where they got beat up by Howard 64-56. Saturday, they had that matchup with Norfolk State, and so Norfolk State really took it to them. So it doesn't seem like they rebounded on that Monday as Saturday. Norfolk State beat them 74-37. Think about that, Mike, 74-37. What are your thoughts in terms of the top 5 programs this week in week number 7?
Well, first of all, I mean, kudos to you. Talk about Alabama A&M. They're 8 and they have the 8 or 9 out of their last 11, somewhere in that net territory. I was wondering, to be honest, why they hadn't even broken into the top 5 yet. But they put together an impressive set of wins. You know, you kind of ask the question, where's Alabama State? The question also was, how good is North Carolina A&T? Is that fake money? Is that real money? But you look at the stats, and you look at the Colonial Athletic League where they sit. They're number 2 in the league in scoring, number 3 in defense, number 2 in turnover margin. So that's real. That's real money. So I think the poll is real. The only question I ask is, where would you put an Alabama State who's right there in the top? If you look at the echelon women's basketball. There's Jackson State. Then there's the 2 Alabama teams where, which one do you put over the other? They have almost similar records. So nothing wrong with the poll, just a couple of questions.
No, I think that's a great question when you talk about that. And we're going to take this break, and we'll come back on the other side to bring Coach in right during that break part of it as we have him on the line. And we'll be going to Coach Strothers right after this break. But to your point, Alabama State, if you went that far, would be number 6. They have 34 points, so they're right outside of the top 5 at 46. So I think you asked a great question. Look at this, though. They play this Saturday in the second part of that rivalry matchup, if you would. So it should be interesting, that matchup, to see who might be the ones that knock them out of the poll rankings in terms of what that looks like. When you talk about that first matchup between Alabama State and Alabama A&M earlier, it was one of those knock-in, drag-outs fights as they always have, with Alabama A&M get the best of them 60-46. And I think that's what kind of nudged them above them in the 5 spot, is the fact, although they tied in the conference, they have the nudge in terms of getting a home victory as they got it done earlier. With that being said, we'll take this break. We'll come back on the other side. We have an interview for you, so stick with us. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Don't worry, Ma. We'll be there soon.
We? Is this the one?
Well, let's say I found the one who takes me to another level. Always stays calm under pressure. Most importantly, the one that helps me discover the coolest places.
This sounds wonderful.
Come outside, I'll introduce you.
They're here.
Definitely the one.
Introducing the all-new Nissan Frontier.
At CDW, we get speed as the new currency of success.
Our team spends way too much time tending to outdated applications and software when they should be focused on driving application agility and innovation.
CDW Amplified Development Services modernizes software and application development to help accelerate innovation and digital transformation.
So you mean building new applications, UI, and mobile interfaces?
Well, you said you needed to innovate more quickly.
Oh, so he's a listener.
To do more at scale, trust CDW Amplified Development Services.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot left, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I'm excited to have our guest. That is Coach Strothers from Tougaloo College, the men's basketball program. And they have a record of 26-1. I understand they put in a little work. One game was a scrimmage, so we won't talk about that. We don't want to get anybody in trouble. That was going to be off. With that being said, Coach, it was recently announced that you all officially have won the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference, getting it done as you continue to have a strong program there. As we get started, before we really get into that, if you would, for those that may not really know about your background, can you share a little bit about where you're from and how did you get into basketball?
Well, I'm from the River City, Vicksburg, Mississippi, country town, right outside of Jackson, where I played football. I started playing football there, and Coach Bill was actually my football coach back when I was in high school. And I played maybe a couple of games of basketball there at Vicksburg High, and then I got hurt. I got hit in my eye, and I decided that I wasn't going to play basketball no more. And I was going to go and come and walk on with W.C. Gordon with Jackson State football. Because actually I was around 5'8", and then once I got to Jackson State, I was 6'7". So one of my best he said, "Hey man, why don't you walk on the team, see if you can make the team?" So came and walked on and made the team, and I got better and better each year, and actually was pretty decent player. So and then I left there. I left Jackson State and played. Yeah, went over and played overseas a little bit. I went to the Hawks, so I was in the Hawks free agent camp for a whole month, and then I went to the CBA, played for the Sky Force up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Then I left there and went to Holland for a little bit, and then I played in Hong Kong for a year. And then I had a chance. Coach Stockton asked me to come back and help him coach, and I was able to come back in 1993 and start coaching at Jackson State. And then I went from Jackson State. I stayed there from 1993 to 2013. Then I went to Mississippi Valley in 2014 to 2018, and then I landed at Tougaloo.
Wow.
Man, a lot of winning going
Incredible
on
journey.
there, and you seem like you're responsible for a lot of those recruits coming in and putting in work throughout the SWAC. And now at Tougaloo as a head coach, drawing up the plays. So kudos for all that you've done. Let me get Charles in here and let him follow up with a question.
Sure thing. Well, Coach, your track record speaks for itself in terms of your success, definitely within the SWAC. But I wanted to ask you about the influence of not just Coach Thomas Dulles, but Coach Andy Stoglin in your coaching career. Talk about how those guys sort of molded you into the coach that you are now.
Well, when Andy Stoglin asked me to come back and be his coach, I was just surprised, and he really wanted me to come back because he thought I was good. I was the captain for 2 years, and he thought I had really good leadership. So he brought me back, and actually, I just talked to Coach Stoglin on the phone today, and he's congratulating me and telling me that he knew that I was going to be successful as a head coach. But just his the way he carried himself at Jackson State, his coaching philosophy was big with me. Now I carry some of his philosophy with me, and I carry some of Coach Anderson that I worked under 10 years. I carry some of his philosophy with me too. And then I was able to come and work with Coach Bill that coached me in high school. They really put that toughness into me when I was in high school. So I just meshed all those three guys together, and it just put a little dropping of what I knew onto it, and I knew then I could have something special.
No doubt. I appreciate that, Coach.
This is your fourth season there at Tougaloo. Head coaching, you had a tremendous record last year, getting it done in conference. As you transition, obviously you have the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference tournament coming up in Jackson, Mississippi, so right there in your backyard. So that should really do well in terms of the fan base. But if you allow me to project a little bit, no matter what happens in the tournament, I would imagine that you should be in position to get an NAIA bid. What are things you're looking for that need to take place for you to be successful in both the conference tournament as well as the NAIA tournament?
Well, right now, I think our guys are mentally they almost checked out. So I got to get these guys back together mentally, because we've been on these winning streaks, and all the teams that we play, they give their best to us. So, they watching film on us, they doing different things to us to stop us, from scoring a lot of points, and they doing some things to us that's causing us some problems. So, mentally, I'm just trying to keep these guys together throughout this tournament, and we just take one. We start every day 0-0. We 26-1, but every day we start 0-0. So we give ourselves a fresh start every day, and that's something I'm trying to get them prepared mentally going into this tournament. Because last year we went into the tournament, we was hunting people. Now we are the hunted. So it's different. So I'm trying to get these guys back into the mode of we back hunting. Because this is one of our goals. Our number one goal was to go undefeated, which we didn't do. We went 26-1. The second goal was to win the conference and go undefeated in the conference. That was two goals that we met. And then the next goal was to win the GCAC tournament. That's another goal that's right in that graph. Then from there, you work on winning the national title.
Man, I can't wait. Well, it's exciting basketball. Mike, if you would go ahead and follow up with a question.
Yeah, Coach. Just kind of looking at your background and listening to you, man, you really put your time in. You have what we call SWAC hours. You know what SWAC hours are, right?
Oh,
so, little old school term. I'm the oldest member on this crew, so they occasionally let me speak freely. So, but I want to congratulate you on your season. But as I listen to you talk, 26, one loss. I think there's also a game behind the numbers. You're game, point efficiency at 110% efficiency, outscoring everybody else. You don't do that without talent. How has a lot of your background experiences, molded your philosophy toward recruiting young men? What is your philosophy when you're bringing talent into the organization?
Right, and I was with the SWAC for a long time, and I'm big on bringing young guys in and developing them. I don't like to go and get too many old guys that's already been polished, because you can't develop old guys. So what I do, my philosophy is to bring the young guys in, and I tell them to trust the process and the situation and stay the course, and you'll be successful. And I told them, I trust the process. I've been an assistant coach for 30 years, and I've been patient, and I trust the process. And now I'm reaping some of the benefits for trusting the process, And so I just tell all these kids now, don't be ready after 1 year, things don't go your way. You ready to jump and go somewhere else. That's not the way to do it, because you want to try to stay. You want to trust the process. You want to trust the coach that gave you a chance to come in and play. If you're talented enough and you put the work in, you're going to be successful. So when I came in, when Coach Bill was asking me to come board, and I told Coach this, I said, Coach, I want to be a head coach. He said, Coach, I want you to come here. I want you to recruit. I want you to build a program. I just don't want to hit and miss. And once he told me, when he talked about building the program, hey, I got super excited, because that's what I want to do. I want to build a program that I don't have to worry about recruiting year after year, because I got guys that's freshmen and sophomores that's already ready to play, and I'm here and I'm developing. And that's what I do. I develop talent. And once you develop talent, then you don't have to worry about winning. All you have to do is show up sometimes.
Awesome.
Let me follow up real quick on that, just with regards to the talent, because we get into some interesting debates on here with regards to some of the talent that we see at the Division II level and the talent at NAIA. You're obviously number one in Dr. Cavil's poll, but I wanted to ask a little bit about the talent that's at the NAIA level.
Hey, it's some great talent here at this level. It's really good talent. I would compare it to the SWAC. I mean, it's really some good coaches in this league, and it's some good players in this league. And what I told myself when I came here, I say, I got to go get me some talent. I can't get NAIA players. I got to go get me some Division I, not low major players, but I got to go get me some high major Division I players. And I got about 5 mid-major, not high major, but mid-major players. I got Cam Copeland, that he's one of the best guards I done seen. He can get a shot off on anybody. He can shoot, he can make plays, and he can play defense. I got a kid from Grambling that I recruited when I was at Valley. I stuck with him, Cameron Woodall, big guy, about 6'6", big and strong, can jump out the gym. I got a shooter, Trajan Fielder, that's a D1 player. So I got about 6 or 7 D1 players, because to win this conference, you got to have some really tough, and you got to have some Division I players, because this is a really tough conference.
Oh, no doubt.
Absolutely.
Charles, and you notice he said building, as in the verb, continuing.
Yeah.
I hate to see what happens when it gets built.
Exactly.
Oh, that's the building. I guess the construction. Oh, my
Yeah.
goodness.
And
with that being said, Coach,
I just want to say that we signed a kid today out of Lanier High School. He's about 6'7". His name is Nick Turner. We signed him today. We had a big press conference for him. And we're going to get some of these kids now, because we're doing so well. So that's part of the building process that I'm putting in place.
I'd be remiss if I can give you time to, call out some of the names, superlatives. You had some all-conference players, some other players that are doing well. I want you to give a chance to talk about some of these key players in regards to what are some of the players that are getting it done for you this year?
Well, we got a kid that's 6'9". His name is Daryl Jones. He's 6'9", and a guy just sent him to me and say, "Hey, Coach, I got a kid for you." And when he got here, I promise he couldn't walk and chew bubble gum. And what we did, we got him on the weight program. So we lift weights Sunday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. That's part of the program. That's every week. I don't care. We got a game. We're gonna lift weights, and we're gonna do development, shooting and other stuff to make sure these kids develop. And he's developing to a really, really good player. He's 6'9". And there's nobody in our conference that got a guy like that in our conference. They can dominate and dominate the paint.
Nice.
Awesome.
Last thing, Coach, I'd be remiss if I didn't give you a chance to give some shout-outs, kudos, to your president, alumni, obviously those that have been supporting you over the years. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Well, we got our president, Carmen Walters. She supports athletics big time. She always talk about the 2 A's, which is academics and athletics, and she want both of them to soar high here at Tougaloo. So we got study hall in place. We got academic advisors in place. I came here and put all that in place because the most important thing for me is for these kids to get an education. I like winning, but when I see a kid walk across the stage with a diploma, I'm happy. And I don't care about the championships. I just want these kids to get a degree. So you got Carolyn Walker that she's behind me 100%. Coach Barnes that hired me here, and as we made the change, he's been very supportive of me. And the alumni been very, very supportive of me. The Booster Club and the Tougaloo Nation, man, they've been really supportive. I probably got about 70 calls in probably the last 3 days of people just shouting out and supporting me.
Awesome. Kudos to all those that support and all that you're doing, Coach. Continue changing lives and making a difference. We certainly want to keep updated. We'll bring you back on. Particularly like to be able to bring you back on when you cut down those nets for a championship at the NAIA level.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely.
With that, this is Coach Strothers, Tougaloo College Bulldogs getting it done. Ranked number 1 in the poll rankings last week. Continue to win. So we imagine there should be in there. We'll release it on Thursday. So we want to keep a little suspense there. But they continue to get it done. And that is the poll ranking top 5. So you know what kind of things you're getting done when you're in our top 5. And the mid-major for us is a combination of the NCAA Division II HBCU programs as well as the NAIA HBCU program. So you in the top 5, you're really doing well. But you find a way to ascend to number 1, obviously you're doing good stuff. Langston's in there. Give you an example. Virginia Union in terms of what they're getting it done. They were in there last week, top 5. So a lot of good programs. So we look forward to this tournament run in regards to the Gold Coast Athletic Conference as well as the NIA. So thank you for your time, Coach. We'll be right back after this last break.
Go Bulldogs.
Go Bulldogs.
Go Bulldogs.
Go Bulldogs.
When you work in IT, complaints are part of the job.
Bill says the coffee's weak today.
But since CDW helped us switch to Mac, everyone's happier. Dan from finance likes getting performance without a big price tag. Phoebe digs the power of the Apple M1 chip. Mac is easy to manage, compatible with all our apps, and came pre-configured by CDW. Now we're even getting compliments.
That was Bill again, says he loves his new Mac. He's right about the coffee.
Hey, babe, meet us at the bottom of the trail.
Oh, man. Hey.
Open up. The redesigned Chevy Silverado with a sophisticated high-tech interior.
Open the door.
It's easy to forget it's a truck.
Thanks.
Nice truck.
It was.
Find new style. Find new roads. Chevrolet.
It's like a loop machine. All around town, trying to get down.
Ryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
It's like a loop machine.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Dr. Cavill's inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Hope you interviewed that past interview with Coach Strothers of Tougaloo. With that being said, we want to get into major division, top 5 programs. Nobody dropped out this week, but a lot of change. A lot of change in the poll ranking, so stick with us. It should be interesting. As we said, no team dropped out this week, but a couple of teams receiving votes. North Carolina Central Eagles with a winning record is still outside of the top 5. Maryland Eastern Shore Hawks also with a winning record overall, outside of the top 5. So we're getting in this team where we get a lot of teams are starting to hit their stride, getting into the winning streak, some sliding, backsliding, if you would. Like Southern Jaguars still outside. They sit at 13-14. Tough loss on the road as they fought back after a big deficit. Took the game to overtime, but couldn't get it done against Grambling. So they are sitting in the final spot, receiving votes at 13-14, 95, 28 points. Maryland Eastern Shore, North Carolina Central, 29 and 60 points respectively. So you see how close North Carolina Central is outside with the number 5 team. The number 5 team is Norfolk State Spartans. They dropped 3 spots after it looked like they had a chance and were running it, doing really well. They fall to number 5 after a tough loss last night. And you'll hear the same refrain as several programs in the MEAC took it on the chin on the men's side yesterday in terms of what was going on. So Norfolk State at number 5. The Spartans are 19-8, 8-3, 62 points. Could not quite get it done in regards to what is taking place there in the MEAC. The last couple of weeks should be a dogfight for those top 4 teams, as there's not a lot of difference. Let me set it up for you. Howard at 9-2, Norfolk State at 8-3, Maryland Eastern Shore at 7-4, North Carolina Central at 7-4 in terms of those top 4 teams in the MEAC going down the stretch. Bringing us to number 4, Howard. They were number 1. They only lasted 1 week, 17-11, 9-2, 83 points. They took a tough loss on Monday. They got the big win on Saturday, but could not follow it up. So they fall from the number 1 spot. They fall 4 spots to number 4. At number 3, Tennessee State Tigers bounced back. They had the chance. Yeah. Murray State, tough loss on Thursday. Coach got tech. They got put out of the game. He was into it. Game was really close until the end. They couldn't get the stops late in that game to really get over the head. But they fought back on Saturday and got a big win that's at the top of the conference. So Tennessee State, while they're pretty much out of the number 1 spot, they are ascending, winning several of their games. They had won 5, so they won 6 out of the last 7. They're in the top half of the OVC, so they're setting themselves up for some buys in the OVC tournament that's coming in. Can they make a run? They sit in the 4th spot, tied with Tennessee Tech that they got a victory over, but they're behind Southeastern Missouri State Redhawks at 10-6, and UT Martin Skyhawks 10-6, but they have some matchups coming this week, so it'll be fascinating. But they're at the 3 spot. They ascend 3 first-place votes, 89 points, 17-12, 9-7. And number 2, the tides have changed. We heard everything about the MEAC, and rightfully so, they were rolling. Tough weekend, but the SWAC has continued to grind, and now they're getting some love. Grambling State Tigers are looking really good in terms of what they got done. They improved to 18-8 on the season, 11-3 in terms of SWAC play. They're a game behind Alcorn State Braves that are at 12-2. So 3 first place votes for Grambling State Tigers. They move up 3 spots from previous being 5 as they jump in the poll. Big victory on the road for everybody to see in terms of being on NBA TV during the All-Star weekend. The ball will travel, defense will travel. They get it done. Number 1, though, Alcorn State Braves, 15-11, 12-2. Braves have won 6 straight, while Grambling has won 5 straight. 5 first place votes, 112 points, sitting at previous at number 3. They move up 2 spots. So they had number 1, Alcorn State Braves, earned the top ranking in the poll in week number 7, getting it done this week. 2 MEAC, 2 SWAC. Interesting to see how things close down. Who can hold on for the regular season conference champion? What will it mean for the poll ranking? What happens in the tournament? Close games. When you talk about the margin of victory, for example, in the SWAC for 9 points and less, all year long, it is at 50%. Of the 88 games played, 44 of them have been within 9 points. You have 6 overtime games. Of those 6 overtime games, 2 of them went to double overtime. So you have a lot of good basketball being played in the SWAC, as well as the MEAC, I must add. But I'm going to start with you, Mike, this time. What are your thoughts on the major division top 5 teams in the program this week?
No, I have no issues with the polls, especially even to Tennessee State, where they're right now. They're playing some good ball. Their standing may not show it, but if you dig deeper and look at some of their wins, I think they had 1 loss and they bounced back with a big win. They're playing some good ball. Alcorn State. I think the thing that stands out, the data point that stands out to me, is the parity that you have, especially in the SWAC in both leagues. You talked about the double times, but the margin of victory in some of these games is very close. Some of these games, I'd say 50% could either swing both ways, depending on a few calls and a few shots. So nothing wrong with the polls as well. Alcorn State should be number 1. They're playing up to it. They're number 1 in defense. They're number 1. They're tops in offense. They've been that way pretty much for the whole year. So nothing wrong with the polls.
Hey, you talking about Tennessee State? They got to play a junior Clay. I'm gonna call it Mr. Clay, the senior 6 foot 100. He caved the Cougars. SIU Edwardsville 40 piece. 40 piece. He gave it to them. He asked them, did they want some more? Oh man, was he getting it done in terms of those matchups? Man, Tennessee State has some players in terms of what they get done, and a lot of it, even in that loss to Morehead State, you had Gross. I want to give him a shout out. He played solid in terms of what they did against them. But Boyd, in terms of Jedrick Boyd, he was on fire from the 3 in that matchup, and he put up 28 points. It was a loss, but he went 10 of 13 from the field goal. And then when you talk about what he shot from the 3, he was a madman, laser focused. But let me go to you, Charles, in terms of some of these other teams, the Braves, the Tigers, inside out, big man play. They can move the ball, very athletic. But the Braves, they know how to win tight games. You cannot rest your laurels. You think you have the Braves, and they will dump one on your head and send you to the locker room trying to figure out what happened. And they have ascended to number 1. You have any concern with the top 5 programs?
No concern with the top 5 program. And you guys touched on it. Tennessee State playing some great basketball. But when you take a look at Alcorn and Grambling, no 2 teams are hotter than HBCU basketball. You talk about Grambling, they won 5 in a row. Big, huge win. National TV audience. Can't say enough about that. And Alcorn, they won 6 in a row. But we've talked about it. The margin of error in the SWAC is about yay big. And be careful as we go toward the end of the season. I think it's going to be a fight between Alcorn and Grambling, obviously for the regular season title. But be careful about these blue bloods starting to pick up steam now. Texas Southern, they've won 3 in a row.
Yep.
Prairie View, they've won 2 in a row. As we get towards tournament play, be careful because you got to fight them demons. You got to fight them demons when you start playing them schools when you get into tournament play. And then you got North Carolina Central. They picked up steam. They won 4 in a row with the teams in the MEAC dropping 1 this past Monday. The Ides of Monday have caught teams again with Howard, Norfolk State, and Maryland Eastern Shore. So it's going to get fun down the stretch here.
Oh, you say it really well. Come back on the other side and get a little segment where I ask you some key matchups this week. But I really like what you talked about in some of these games. People keep it on and want to go take a little deeper dive. We'll take our last break, come back on the other side, talk about some key matchups this week. And then we'll tell people also what games they can catch on TV. As we go down the stretch, we basically have 3 to 4 games left, depending on what teams have played their rival or not. And so it's going to be fascinating to see what that looks like down the stretch of the SWAC before you get in the tournament. I still say there's going to be 2 teams that are sitting at 9 and 10. It might even stretch to 11 that are not going to make the tournament, which some teams that could have gave a number 1 and number 2 a big upset. They're not even going to be in the tournament this year. So it'll be fascinating to see when you look at the MEAC and SWAC tournaments. With that being said, let's take our last break. We'll come back on the other side, tell you some games to watch this week, and make sure that you're on top of your HBCU basketball. And then on Thursday, we'll give you an update, some more of the CIAA tournament, as well as the mid-major poll rankings. We'll give you those updates as well as you continue to get all your HBCU basketball needs met right here on Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We'll be right back after this last break.
I'm a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire.
Crypto is complicated, but as a tax expert with crypto experience, you can hand your taxes off to me. You do your thing, we've got your taxes. Intuit, TurboTax Live.
T. Madden and Associates is a sophisticated and experienced law firm located in your neighborhood. We're turning injury to cash.
T. Madden and Associates obtained almost $2 million for my injury. They turned my injury to cash.
Now, we can't guarantee how much your injury is worth, but we've recovered millions for our clients. Call T. Madden and Associates at 833-PAID-123. That's 833-PAID-123.
Pizza Hut stuffed crust is the crust that made crust good. Topped and stuffed with over a half pound of cheese. What are you so afraid of? Loving it? Original stuffed crust, just $12.99. Only from Pizza Hut. No one out-pizzas the Hut.
It's like a loop machine.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Ville with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Wanted to get in here and give you some updates. You talking about going down the stretch. Grambling is a game behind Alcorn. The problem for Grambling is this is one of those matchups where you only played 1. You know, you have your 12 games where you play teams twice, that's home and away. And then you have your 6 games where you basically only play teams once. And Alcorn went on the road, so got it the hard way. They had a 3-point victory over Grambling. So head-to-head would mean Alcorn, if they end up tied, if you would, they would share the championship, and Alcorn would get the number 1 seed in the tournament. But for Grambling to ascend all the way to the top, they need to see, they got to win out, obviously, or see Alcorn lose twice before they can find a way to jump them. Not just good enough to get even with them. With that being said, I'm going to go to you, Charles. What are some of the matchups that you look forward to this weekend?
This Saturday, looking at the MEAC, Howard at North Carolina Central. North Carolina Central all of a sudden has gotten hot. They won 4 in a row. Howard dropped 1 this past Monday. We'll try to see can Howard regain that momentum. But again, playing that blue blood team. That's going to get scary going down the stretch here. Howard at North Carolina Central. And, of course, you got the Texas teams heading to Mississippi. They do the Blues Trails trip this weekend. So you got Texas Southern with Jackson State on Saturday, and then Alcorn on Monday. But the one that's very intriguing, of course, this upcoming Saturday is Prairie View at Alcorn. That's going to be a good one. Hottest team in HBCU basketball right now is Alcorn, and they got two teams that are starting to pick up steam. Prairie View and Texas Southern coming in this weekend. Going to be fascinating to watch.
Mike, did you talk about the Blues Trail? I like that. Yep. Yeah, you thought you snuck that in, and we got you. Mike, what do you have on your mind this weekend? What are you looking?
Well, I
you say, hey, make sure you take a peek at these.
Well, now that Tennessee State's got my attention, I'm kind of keeping a side eye on them. I think they have UT Martin. I think they had a 10-point loss to them earlier, but they playing some ball. They can get that ball. That could go either way. I do agree with CB that, Alcorn against Prairie View is an interesting matchup. I think Grambling, not yet. I think they've got to go through Florida and Alabama. Florida, they should be fine, but that Alabama trip, they could stumble their toe a little bit. So I think that's a watch out as well. That's not immediately, but that's coming up. Something to keep your eye on a little bit.
I agree with you there in terms of those matchups, in terms of keeping your eyes on it. HBCU games this coming up week on Saturday. You have Southern at Bethune-Cookman doubleheader starting at 12:30 and 3 o'clock. That's women's and men's. And then on that Monday, as you talk about, you see the Texas team coming in Alcorn. There's Texas Southern at Alcorn State doubleheader 5:30 and 8 o'clock on HBCU Go. Last weekend, this Monday, man, you had all your fixtures. You had both ESPN and HBCU games. So I had my iPad sitting in there in the gym watching all these different games, both HBCU Go. Real nice pictures, so you tuning in. I got it on while I'm watching Texas Southern get it done as well. So a lot of good basketball. With that being said, that HBCU game is Texas Southern at Alcorn. The one, as you talked about, the Blues Trail is really on the women's side. Prairie View goes in on Monday at Jackson State. Obviously, that was the only blemish on Jackson State's schedule. So they'll be focused on that game. They've been rolling. Prairie View wants to continue to play well. They're at the top of the conference looking for seeding. But that's a tough road trip in terms to going in to Jackson, especially after you got it done at home. Credit to the ladies, Prairie View, getting it done in terms of women's basketball. They got those new basketball shoes from Harden 3. Show that out there. You can check it on Twitter. They are clean, but they'll need every inch of those.
Great hype video. Great hype video.
That hype video is nice.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. As we go down the stretch, it'll be interesting to see what takes place. Looking ahead, short week, obviously, when you come back, you have the Thursday and Saturday before you go into the tournament. This week, Thursday will get you ready for the SIC tournament as it kicks off next week. But next week, you close down the basketball season. You do Thursday and Saturday. With that being said, on Thursday, you have Jackson State at Arkansas Pine Bluff doubleheader on HBCU Go. And then they'll end the season traveling to Texas. Texas Southern at Prairie View. It'll be fascinating to see what that matchup would mean. Will it come down to that matchup being who gets in the tournament, or have Prairie View and Texas Southern incented at the right time and solidified themselves in the middle of the conference and now trying to stretch out to see maybe they can get up into the top half of the bracket? It will be interesting to see what that looks like. We'll call it a show with that. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Hope you enjoyed our guest, Coach Strothers of Tougaloo College men's basketball program, as he's won the GCAC. As of last week, he was #1 in the mid-major poll rankings and continues to ascend. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday generally at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. Kick us back. We'll be back at our regular time on Thursday at 6 o'clock. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest in the lab. And when I say next week, this Thursday, actually, follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. DrKenyattaCavil. DrKenyattaCavil. That's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. BCSN 25th anniversary. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Check us out and continue to support BCSN. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We'll talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Mike?
Lecture.
Dismiss.